Welcome to ReVoicing the Future, a Women of NAMM podcast, presented by AKG. Just as one revoices a chord, ReVoicing the Future creates a completely new perspective on the invaluable notes that make up the whole. It will uplift women's voices in the music products industry, which have earned their time to be the root of the chord. Once a month, you can catch productive and valuable conversations with women working in manufacturing, retail, the nonprofit sector, music education, touring, and overall women who inspire us. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. This podcast is co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. What's up, everyone? Welcome to ReVoicing the Future. I'm your host, Natalie Morrison, and I have the whole ReVoicing team here live at the NAMM show at the new Creator Lounge and Studio. This is really exciting.
It's so beautiful. I'm so blown away by what they put together. This is really rad.
So we're doing this officially, like in person. This is amazing. I'm so excited to have the new executive director of the NAMM Foundation, Julia Rubio, joining us.
Yay. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me join you. This is a beautiful space.
Beautiful space. And your first NAMM show. So
my first NAMM show, halfway done. Wow. So I will have graduated in a couple of days and I'll be official.
We should get you a certificate. You survived your first NAMM show.
I feel like there should be some sort of trophy or certificate. I don't know, participation award like that.
And did you ever make it out to one before or not so much?
Never.
Amazing.
Never. This is my first NAMM show. So I'm getting the full experience.
Yeah.
Front of house and back of house, all of it.
Wow.
So,
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we like to start all of our episodes. We want to really understand your career journey. And I know we're going to dive into a lot of it later, but just kind of that overarching overview of how did you get into the space that you're in? How did you end up here at the
all the way here to the NAMM show, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But everyone has great stories about how they end up here in this space on this day at the NAMM show. Well, my whole background is in strings. I was in classical music as a youngster. I grew up in Michigan. There were music programs available in my elementary school. Didn't really come from a musical family. But I loved the cello, and the music teacher came around in fourth grade and brought all the instruments. I said, oh, I want to play that. And my parents were like, you're not carrying that to school. You have to walk to school 2 miles. That's not happening. So I ended up with the viola because it was like a portable cello. So
I'm a fellow viola player.
So all my violas out there. So I played viola all throughout my youth. It was a huge part of how I formed as a young adult and as a child. And it's still something I hold near and dear to my heart today. And I took that to my undergraduate degree and received a bachelor's at Miami University in music education. And I taught middle school orchestra in Ohio for a few years in Southern Ohio. And as much as I loved being in the classroom, being a teacher just wasn't quite the right fit. I was a young professional, and there was that, you're either a performer or a music teacher. And especially back then, there really weren't any other option. And there weren't a lot of examples for us to follow. Like, well, what else can you do? I didn't really want to be on the front of the stage. And the classroom was wonderful, but it also wasn't quite the right fit for me. So I went ahead and did my master's degree in performing arts management. So that took me off into the world of leading some really astonishing classical music organizations on the East Coast, and eventually led me through running a national foundation that funds behavioral health initiatives throughout the United States. And then finally here to NAMM.
Wow. That's amazing. I know Steph is like chomping at the bit with the whole behavioral health.
You said behavioral health, and I was like, huh? Got my backline shirt on.
I find people are either like, what is that? Or tell me more. I know about this space and there's so much to talk about. But
yes, that'll be another day.
Yeah.
We'll just have one that we nerd out alone about it.
Yeah.
So does coming into the space, coming from the public school teacher to then weaving your way into the nonprofit world, but staying in the arts space, does this feel like a full circle moment for you?
That's a great question. Yes, it is a full circle moment for me because I spent the last 5 years outside of the creative sector. So, when I stepped back into the music world here at the NAMM Foundation, I realized my time in healthcare helped me understand the creative world better than I did when I was in the middle of it for 20 years. So in that sense, it was.
Yeah.
I brought with me a perspective of being in it, blood, sweat, and tears, like we're all doing every single day. Sometimes not even like having the blinders on sometimes and having some blind spots about how people see the work we do and how they understand it in their communities, to stepping outside of it and saying, wow, I get how this fits in. I get how sometimes some of the good and bad parts of being an arts administrator or being in the creative world, and we sometimes not sure how we fit in to the big picture and how people view us. So that was a real gift. It was a real gift to have that perspective. So absolutely, if I could have created a professional life for myself with all the amazing experiences I've had throughout the years, it would be this job. So how lucky am I?
That's amazing. Well, it makes me think too, we learn so much from other industries too. And so now that I'm working part-time for Backline this year, and our clinical side is run by someone that mostly worked in clinical, but also was doing venues and stuff on the side. And so it's run effectively as it's supposed to be run. And I often think if someone was just very well-meaning and came from the music world and didn't know how to do that, it would be a little bit of a different story. We don't know everything. And we have a lot of really entrenched ways of doing things in music, but that's probably going to just be such a gift as you attack this now. It's bringing that organizational mind that sometimes, with all of our passion, we learn as we go, I think, a lot in music. So we can learn from other industries that are a little less fun, but
hopefully we're all learning. One of the things that was really most precious to me is I understood being in the world of behavioral health and people with addiction, street homelessness, adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, foster care, autism education. I really, for the first time in my life, understood what a healthy community means. And I might have used those words before I was in that world, being in the arts world, but I really fully understood how music and how having a creative life, as what they will call it, the social determinant of health. You have your clinical health and your physical health, but there's all the things that make us human, the things that make our community healthy, that are outside of the prescriptions you get at the doctor's office. And our creative lives are just a basic human right. And that's what makes these beautiful, healthy communities. And so thankfully, I had that perspective to say, I get it. And I had to step out of it for a few years to really understand it.
And so with that in mind, I would love to hear more about your vision for the NAMM Foundation. I'm seeing, I think, where that's going to go with this line of thought. I'm sure this is still crystallizing, but at this point, what is exciting you about what you're looking at evolving the organization in, and what's popping up? It's like, oh, that's where we fit in and all of that.
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you. Yeah, it's so fun to be in an organization like this where the leadership is so on board with just making a difference. I mean, it's really in the ethos of the whole organization. So those of us who come in looking at the charitable side of the work, it's like, yeah, we just got to get it organized and put some structure to it and ask the right questions. So it's a really wonderful position to be in.
Yeah.
But what really is working well for us and has worked well for me in the past is to really just try to boil down the work you do in the most simplest terms. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, we are doing our work to break down barriers. We are anywhere that there is a place where socially, society, whatever is getting in the way of people just creating and having creative lives, that's where we belong. So, we're looking at where do we invest our resources? How do we make the most impact? Because our resources aren't finite. We only have so many human hours. We only have so many dollars. We have only so much we can do. But when we're looking at how we're going to impact, keeping our inquiries simple and really, in some ways, binary, is this going to make change? Is this investment? Is this effort? Breaking down a barrier is tomorrow will somebody else be able to find a pathway to making music, find a pathway into the music industry as a professional. And that's a really welcome mindset at NAMM. Like, hey, let's just keep this down to the simplest form. And how are we really making a difference? And when we think about donations that we get from members and from member companies, we feel really strong about being good stewards of those dollars. And I tell my staff that, every single day we have to look at someone in the eye who has given us maybe their last $25 to our efforts, maybe to the fire relief fund that we have now. And we can look them in the eye and say, this is how we spent your $25, your $100, and feel really, really proud of that.
Yeah. What is something that you wish everybody knew about the NAMM Foundation?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I think Julia came up with that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good question. Well, first, honestly, for members, I would say that there's so many resources available to them. We give out tens of thousands of dollars, for example, a year just in scholarships exclusively for NAMM members. And I find that not everyone knows this, not only for women of NAMM, but for other member companies and their employees for continuing education, for professional development, attendance at the NAMM show. So that's something we really want to make sure that our members understand. And also, we're a resource here. We are a professional resource for our members in the industry because we really care about their philanthropy, whether it's through the NAMM Foundation or not. Like, that's fine. If we're part of your philanthropy, great. But what we do care about is helping nurturing the impact our member companies are making in their communities. I mean, there's thousands of us out there, and we're live and work in communities where there are vibrant musical lives and schools, and we want to support that. And if it's something from how do we donate gear, in the most efficient and effective way, we want to create a grant making program. How can we do this? Or I want to make a donation, but I don't really know where to give it.
Yeah.
Come to us. We're here. We have a lot of professional experience at the foundation, and rising tide lifts all boats, right? So we are so passionate about philanthropy. And someone said to me earlier, which I corrected them because they said, well, I'm a little P philanthropist, not a big P philanthropist. I'm like, don't you dare say that. Philanthropy is a mindset, and it's about giving back. And we want to always make sure we're imparting that for our members and supporting that every single day.
And I think too, you're also vetting organizations that are doing the groundwork too. So if people don't know where to go, they can come to you and see, okay, these are the organizations that the NAMM Foundation is backing, they support, they have fully vetted so that they know that their money is going to the right cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have a process for that vetting, and we have a deep bench of experience at the foundation. So we're here to answer those questions, solve those problems for anything related to, how can I give back?
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it just made me think too of earlier, right? The NAMM Foundation gave Lana at Santa Monica Music a grant for what the work they're doing. But that's a perfect example of, say, someone just in their community, they're just doing instrument replacement for fire relief. And she just started it. They just are doing it. And then that's where NAMM Foundation can come in and help them keep doing that with its own grant. But she didn't do that through any formal fire relief thing. Anybody can be in their community as this entity that they are and start giving back, start being part of that ecosystem, like you say. And then NAMM Foundation is just a great resource to help to support you in it, help guide you in it, all of that. That's just a great example that happened this morning of exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, it is. I think sometimes as those of us in the arts world, and I put myself in this category, sometimes we tend to operate kind of from a deficit mindset. Wow, I don't have this and I don't have that, and I need more resources, I need more money, I need more gigs, I need more staff, whatever it is. But I find that when you flip that, and you approach your community work from an abundance mindset, whatever it is you're doing, especially if you're a musician or you're a retailer or manufacturer, whatever it is you're doing in the creative industry, you are somebody's dream, and you can be their hero. And there's always something you can do to give back. Always. And like Mr. Rogers says, find the helpers, right?
Yes.
Aww.
Be the helpers in your community. Maybe it's just participating in your town's parade, whatever it is, or volunteering. It doesn't always have to be dollars, but being present, being really good listeners. That's the work.
Yeah.
We're here as a national association, and we're here to do our part, but the work is day to day in our communities. So that's where it happens. That's the magic.
Before we move on, can you explain how to get involved with the fire relief efforts? Because this is going to be a long-term recovery.
It is. So as far as our fire relief efforts, there are several ways that folks can get involved. It's very easy to make a donation online. If you really just want to pitch in, 100% of donations are going to go back to fire relief efforts. We also have 2 industry fire relief resource centers on the show floor as well. We have some representatives from the Guitar Center Foundation, as well as Music Cares and Sweet Relief. And I also believe that the Small Business Administration will have a representative there speaking specifically about low interest loans for business owners, homeowners, and renters as well. Actually, I didn't realize they give loans to homeowners and renters as well. I didn't know that. Wow. And again, we support the philanthropy of our members. So if you want to go to those locations and find resources, wonderful. If you want to donate to their efforts, wonderful. There are lots of ways to get involved. But if you go to our website, nammfoundation.org, right on the homepage, there's an immediate link right there to give to our fire relief fund. And we'll make sure it gets absolutely to the right hands.
Yeah. We were asking just about leadership. This all came together so quickly. It was so responsive how you all were able to do something. And so that is just a great example of that can come from other experience, like learning how to very quickly pivot with an organization, be like, this is a new need, we have to act now. Because normally, right, nonprofits, there's layers and layers and layers of approvals and things you need to get done. Like being able to push something through quickly is also a thing that you learn by being in behavioral health in the pandemic. So I think that that's important.
And luckily, we at NAMM, we are all in lockstep with each other, between the trade show, between members services and the foundation. I mean, there is no, well, I begin here and you end there. And I mean, we are all working closely together. Mm-hmm. The beauty of that is in times where there's a crisis, we can act and we're aligned and we're able to immediately activate all of our resources collectively. And I mean, really within a matter of hours, we were talking to each other. We had everything set up. We had a website where people could donate. We had our communications plan just like ready to go. It was a Friday afternoon. I'll never forget it. And it was just like done. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of working together. And then again, real tribute to John and the leadership at NAMM because they build that and nurture that culture.
Talking about a leadership perspective, coming in to an organization that has been around for a while, right? Has precedent and everything. Do you have thoughts now, however many months in, for other people coming in to situations like this, how we take the best, right? And then put our own spin on it too? Like, how has that been? And what thoughts do you have? We're all going to be nearing this point someday, right, in our careers. So what are your reflections this far in?
That's a great question. I think, anytime you're new anywhere, any point in your career, the best gift you can give yourself is just to be a great listener and always know that you're not going to have the answers or the best answers. Mm-hmm. Even though you want to, when you're new somewhere, you want to
jump in.
Yes, there's always that instinct. I want to, prove myself. I've just learned over the years that patience, listening, and just being the best colleague you can possibly be and learning, because there's so much shared wisdom. When you enter in a new team, there's a lot to learn, obviously, but so much collective wisdom in the room all the time. And being curious about that and just humble to it, I find it just feeds me and it just helps me, always has helped me to grow. And I hope it will always continue to, no matter where I am in my career. But it kind of takes some practice. I think, in my younger years, I would have felt like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? But it's nice to be at a point where you can just enjoy the creativity that your new colleagues bring to the table and their ideas. You're just like, I never thought of it that way. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for helping me learn and grow. And it's just a really wonderful collaborative experience.
Yeah. As you're talking about continuing to learn and grow, a big talking point for us is building our toolkits for industry success. And so we would love to hear from you on what are some of those tools that you find that you're using more, things that you are adding to your experience with everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, that toolkit. I know it changes over time, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Some days you feel like it's full and the other days you're like, where's my stuff? It's empty.
Yeah.
I had these yesterday. And now today I'm like, oh,
I need a filing system.
I like to describe it as that Mary Poppins bag.
That's a very good way to put it.
That never ending, right? Like she takes out a lamp and she takes out a mirror. And
yes.
You're like, where did it go? Like, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah. Well, my personal toolkit. I think back to what I was saying before, my mindset when I'm entering any new situation or entering any professional situation is my most cherished piece of my toolkit. Mm-hmm. Bringing the best version of myself into the situation and giving myself the space to just reflect on how I'm reacting to a situation. Am I acting or reacting? And again, that's taken time to develop that because, things happen in situations and you want to just act. Again, just being humbled to the fact that no experience or moment where there might be tension or there might be difficulty, it passes. Mm-hmm. It's not forever. Tomorrow's another day. And sometimes, you just kind of put on your rubber suit and you're like, okay, I'm just going to let this one go. I'm just going to, and let this one bounce off of me. So that one has always served me well. But I think moreover, it's just giving myself the gift of just some peace in whatever situation I'm in, and just always thinking about that as just a personal practice. Mm-hmm. Giving myself permission to say, you know what, I don't have to engage in this difficult situation, or if I do, I'm going to bring the best possible version of myself to the situation.
Mm-hmm. So well said. As this podcast is about women in music, we're always remiss if we don't discuss how your identity as a woman has intersected with your work. When reflecting back on your career, are there any reflections in that space that come to mind from your own experience, thinking about advocacy between women, ensuring work furthering equity is being accomplished, all that?
Well, I've been in the professional world for about 25 years or so, I'd say. And so much has really changed. And I have to really credit you and your generation and even just what you're doing now with this podcast and creating such wonderful space for community. And I think that there was a long time where that wasn't quite so natural. It wasn't a women's toolkit quite as much that, we can create a community of just the girls, and I mean, it would sort of happen organically in professional situations, but I'm so thankful that there's so many more opportunities for young women to talk about their experience of being women in the workforce, things that are going really well, the things that are frustrating, things that maybe you just have questions about, and that there's more of a formal support system where it's like, we're not forming this group because we're being left out of something and it's just sort of by default, we're all being left behind. We're actually deliberately creating these support systems, not as a reaction to sort of what's happening around.
It's that positivity mindset too, right? Like we gain something from this. It's not that this is something we're lacking.
Yes.
But it's because this helps us be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So thank you. I mean, thanks for doing all this.
Only because we had everybody kick the doors down so that we can be like, okay, let's decorate. Well, maybe it's the waves of community growth. It's the most like girly thing I've ever said.
No,
I don't know. I love it. That's so amazing because it's not me, but it's true. We have a good design sense. But anyway, continue. That was a tangent.
I don't mind. Yeah. That's the fun part.
But it is fun to think about the flow of community development because that actually, to keep that going, that is one thing that we talk about a lot. It's that if there's only one seat at the table mentality, it's going to be me. And so in the very beginning of something evolving like that, it's really hard to not be competitive with other women. And then now we're at the point where we can reach out, we can connect and all that. But it is also letting go of that initial, it was a survival instinct at the time. So that's hard to let go of. So also grace to everybody that's still struggling with that because that is hard stuff to relax the grip. But anyway, kind of in that vein, from your viewpoint now, because you were also doing consulting as well with other organizations. You've been in this world for a while and have a good handle on it. And then now as viewpoint of Executive Director of NAMM Foundation, what is your view on now the opportunities or the biggest needs for women in music advocacy, right? Because we have so many things that already exist now. So where are the holes that people should direct energy to from your 30,000 foot view at this point in the trajectory of that community growth and resource building?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think with any group that is underrepresented anywhere, representation is everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you don't see it, if you're a young woman and you don't see women in leadership roles, you don't know that that's a possibility for you.
Yeah.
So creating opportunities and breaking down any sort of barrier, and usually those barriers can be stereotypes we have about women in leadership roles, or they could be social barriers to women in leadership roles, insofar as we can lead and we can create opportunities to erode those invisible obstacles and just get women in leadership roles. It's sort of a simple thing. When they're there, they're setting an example and it normalizes it. And once it's normal, no one questions it anymore. And then our work is done. Yeah. We don't need to talk about this anymore. Yeah,
exactly.
We can go champion something else.
Yes.
So it's representation. That's what it's all about. Again, if for any group that is finding that they're not given equal weight and power in any situation, that's the work. Just get them in there.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked on a panel that I was at a while ago, do you see the industry changing, or what is it like for women in music? My response literally said, I cannot wait for the day when that question is not asked, because we need it to be normalized. It should be normal that women have a seat at the table, that women are in these leadership roles and doing the hard work. Not even just women, but everyone should be allowed to have that opportunity, right? It shouldn't be separated by that. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for that day.
Well, and it's important in this work too, right? I just love how you talked about that, not the deficit mindset, because it's also very important doing advocacy work that we're, one, aware that this is hopefully to work ourselves out of a job or have it pivot into a positive community addition rather than that there is just always this need, because eventually, hopefully it won't stay. But we can be perpetuating that when we're just being like, this is terrible. We need to be like, yes, the work will end if we do our job right. And so it's a perspective that we need to be remembering to keep in advocacy work. And you have helped me have a way to frame that a little bit better with this today.
We have a long history that we can look back to, how social elements change and how we can look back and get inspiration from groups that have been totally normalized and are part of leadership roles, or maybe in positions of power it would have been unthinkable maybe 50 or 500 years ago. I think that helps give some perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes the work you're doing now, maybe we see change in our lifetime, maybe not. But the work has to continue. The work has to continue. And that's just the human spirit. That's just what we do as humans. Since the dawn of time, this is what we do. Yeah. So we take heart in that and know that the work will always matter.
Yeah.
Will always matter.
As you talk about doing something that matters, it sounds like your role isn't just clocking in and clocking out. It sounds like it has a lot of meaning to you on a deep personal level. I can see you nodding. For those of you listening, she's nodding.
Emphatically.
Something that we have been talking about is knowing what your why is. And I got that from Linnell Grant, who's a producer, rap artist. So we would love to know what your why is and what fuels you. And feel free to take that as wide and deep as you are comfortable with.
I think this work really matters. And because it's work that touches everyone and there's a role for everyone, it's just part of who we are as humans. It's how we connect. It's how we love. It's how we express ourselves. Yep. And maybe I've just been attracted to that because it touched my life as a youngster so deeply. And like all of us who've had that experience, you just want everyone to feel that. But, it's a cliche. You hear about the power of music, but it's who we are. It's our language. It's our love language to each other. And it's how we understand the world. Mm-hmm. So that feeds me. And anything I do in my life that contributes to that in some small way, I feel like, wow, this is a really, really good day.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we always like to end our episodes to know who you, Julia, are outside of your work. So what are your hobbies? What brings you joy when you are not sitting at the table and
being Julia Rubio, executive director of the NAMM Foundation?
Oh, hobbies. Who has time for hobbies? Well, I am a really proud mom of 2 teenage boys.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
My hand is on my heart as I'm saying that because they are my favorite people in the whole world. So my 2 teenage boys and my husband, he's actually a professional violinist.
Cool.
He's a classical musician and he has a string quartet called the Dali String Quartet that tours quite a bit. So he's on the road a lot, but I get to hear his quartet rehearsing Beethoven in my living room while I'm upstairs on meetings. I think, oh, this is so good. So yes, embarrassment of riches. And I live outside of Philadelphia and I love basketball. I love sports. You'll see me at sports events. That came later. Not as a youngster, I didn't play at all, but somehow the bug bit me as a grown up and I love it. I love it so much. And one thing I picked up, kind of a funny hobby over the pandemic was embroidery.
Oh my God. I love that.
Somebody came to me and said, have you ever heard of, there's a term for it, meditative stitching or thoughtful stitching or something. And it was pandemic. We're all like, figuring out what to do with ourselves, like what's happening. And I just love it.
Yeah. It's so satisfying.
It is so good. It's just mindful and it's just quiet. And so, yeah, I still use it. That's actually my toolkit. There we go. There's another thing. Find something that can help you center. And that does. It does it for me. I really love it.
I have begun to take up knitting. And similarly, something that's creative and has nothing to do with music is just really nice because it's tied to work. It's still tied to identity, all this thing. It still is very wonderful, but it's just for fun, something completely unrelated. It is so important.
It's so important. I started watercolor painting. I got one of those like little watercolor workbooks. They give you the stencil outline and they tell you the colors, and I've just been having so much fun just kind of sitting there and just painting.
So good. I know. And Instagram does a great job of like showing all kinds of stuff that you can buy. And, sometimes when people say, especially like you're busy, you're a mom, you're working, and you sort of feel a lot of shame, like, I'm not doing enough for myself, or I don't have any hobbies. I'm just like working or taking my kids places, doing all the things that life requires. But doing things like that, it's like, just find a little something. And it actually feels really good. It kind of takes the shame of, I feel like I should take up pickleball, or I feel like I should take up like something. I'm like, I have no time for any of that.
Yep.
But like just a TV watching hobby, do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a TV watching hobby. You can binge watch a show and you just do something. You've just created a little piece of heaven in your watercolor, your knitting, and it's great.
Yes.
I highly recommend it. Put that in your toolkit.
Yeah.
Julia Olsen, do you, Julia, do you have like a hobby
Unrelated to anything like that. Anything like work creative related. Do you have something completely left of center? Like,
I love tea. I am a tea fan. Tea and coffee.
Mm-hmm. I respect that.
So I like to get my loose leaf tea and steep it just right. And I enjoy a good cup of tea.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Something hot in your hand.
Something about just making a cup of tea, heat the water, get the loose leaf tea, put it in the little tea sachet. I have tea sachets or the loose leaf. It's not an instant process and I don't mind it. I'm a huge tea fan.
Yay.
Well, Julia, I can't thank you enough for taking just an hour out of your day to come and hang out with us.
I know. Your wild and crazy NAMM schedule. We're so grateful.
Thank you. This was wonderful. This is a pleasure. And thank you for doing this. This is really, really wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the NAMM Foundation is in such good hands. I cannot wait to watch your journey through this role and what you do for our industry.
It's been so wonderful.
Yeah. Keep track of us. Follow us on social media.
Yes.
Listeners can be up to date on all things NAMM Foundation with the Fire Relief Fund. We have some grant-making opportunities coming up for our nonprofits, both in the U.S. and abroad.
Yay.
And for our members, reach out and we'd love to talk with you about how we can support your work and be in your corner.
Amazing. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
All right, we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Oh my gosh, that was just
you guys are so good. You are so good.
so are you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ReVoicing the Future. You can subscribe to the podcast on all major streaming platforms or visit our website. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Women of NAMM. This episode was co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. See you next time.